So you may have noticed that I haven't done a transfer update for a little while. And to be honest, I think the reasons for that are pretty obvious, really. It's because obviously Liverpool haven't made a signing since Giovanni Leone, and their position on the two remaining targets for this window, Alexander Isak and Marc Guéhi, have remained pretty consistent, really, alongside the fact there's been no progress on either move. Now, I talk about Liverpool's position there, and as I say, they've consistently said that yes, we like the players, we want both of them if possible, if we can do those deals, but we need the green light from both their clubs, Crystal Palace and Newcastle, that a deal can be done at terms that we find acceptable, and that has not happened up to this point of the window. Well, I am jumping on today because I do feel like we're now at a point where the conditions for both clubs to make a sale are closer than ever to being met, and it is, of course, just in time really for Liverpool, because there are just 4 days left of this transfer window. Now, I'll give you some details, I think, on the first one, the big one really, the biggest move maybe in the transfer window for any club anywhere in the world this window. I'm talking, of course, about the potential move for Alexander Isak, and I know that supporters have been on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster with this one, largely due to some contradictory reporting. You know, you hear one day that it's completely off, there's no chance. You hear another day that maybe Newcastle are open to selling, and it's been a back and forth going on in the background consistently, and as I say, that's been taking fans for a little bit of a ride. But whatever's been going on there and all the reports you've seen, Liverpool have never wavered from saying that they're in for Alexander Isak, that they have an interest in the player. And for me, that's always told the story. If they'd been told categorically behind the scenes that there was no chance of them getting a deal over the line, I feel like that would have come out by this point, and that we would have known there was absolutely zero chance of them getting a move for Alexander Isak done. But as I say, that has not happened. They've never ruled themselves out of the race, and so you've always felt that there was a chance. And I think it's telling also that the player himself has consistently stuck to his guns. Obviously, he released that statement around a week or so ago, and then reiterated to Newcastle again earlier this week that he only had eyes for moving to Liverpool and had no intention of playing for Newcastle again, and no intention certainly of signing a new contract, even with a release clause in it. So I think that meeting in particular has kind of sharpened Newcastle minds, because they've seemingly, as much as they've been pushing for a striker throughout this window, they have been pushing harder in recent days to get the replacement they needed. And that, of course, that was a condition they stated themselves in the statement they released through the club's official website, that they need a replacement in to allow Alexander Isak to go. They did say at the time they didn't foresee that happening, those conditions being met. But as I say, they've been pushing hard and harder. And of course, a bit of disappointment this week. They've not been able to get a deal over the line for Jørgen Strand-Larsen. They're still chasing Johan Wissa at Brentford and not been able to get him. But today, huge breaking news, which of course is the fact that they are now closing in on a deal for Stuttgart forward Nick Woltemade. Now, make no mistake, the reporting around this may, from the Newcastle side, suggest that this is a Callum Wilson replacement, but I really find that hard to believe. I completely accept that the Callum Wilson replacement will be probably quite pricey. You know what the striker market is like at the moment, and obviously it's going to be a player who is capable of playing more than the 300 minutes that Callum Wilson played last season. Absolutely no doubt about that. But I just feel that this particular move for Woltemade is far too much on the pricey side of things for them to argue that this is a Callum Wilson replacement. Now, the top end of the deal, the reporting around that at the moment, is £78 million that Newcastle are ready to pay, £5 million worth of that being add-ons. And this is for a 23-year-old who was wanted by Bayern Munich in this window. It just makes you... I think it makes it clear that promises have been made to Woltemade over what his role would be, and that is not going to be as a replacement, as a backup to Alexander Isak. So it feels like his arrival is a key part of the puzzle, really, and the expectation now on the Liverpool side of things is that willingness to sell Isak is opening up, and you're going to see a bit more of that from Newcastle. As I say, I've consistently reported that Liverpool are there, waiting for the green light, ready to sanction a British transfer record deal for Isak. And I now think it's fair to say that they expect that is getting likelier, and I expect that it's getting likelier, and there's a real chance now that this deal gets done. And so, Liverpool have 4 days to get a bid in, to agree a fee with Newcastle, get a medical done and seal the move. I'll be honest, I don't think personal terms are going to be an issue at this point. I imagine there's been a bit of an outline discussion there between Isak's representatives and Liverpool, but there's no getting away from the fact is that this is huge news for Liverpool. And as I say, a big part of the puzzle with Newcastle moving for Woltemade. They may still want Yoane Wissa as another striker. That may be a big part of it for them, but it's clear if they get the ISAK replacement, even if they can't get a deal for Wissa over the line, I think that deal is there to be done for Liverpool to get ISAK, and that Newcastle are going to invite them to the table. So an exciting few days ahead in terms of developments on that one. Of course, it isn't just the chase for ISAK that's going on. It's not been the only saga of the summer, because Liverpool have also been chasing Marc Guéhi at Crystal Palace as well. And of course, again, I've said pretty consistently on this channel that it's much about the fee really with this one. Liverpool wanting to pay less than 40 million, but Palace holding firm for a figure closer to 50 million. But I think they showed their hand, didn't they, when the chairman, Steve Parish, said after the Community Shield at Wembley that Palace can't really afford to lose an asset this good and this expensive on a free transfer. That has been placing pressure on Palace, and I think this has been Liverpool's tactic really, is to push this deal as late as possible in the window, put as much pressure on Palace as possible, and that will allow you and will open up the conditions to do a deal at a fee that Liverpool find more acceptable. And I think we are getting to that part of the window, of course, as we're nearing the transfer deadline. It's also helpful for Liverpool really that the players made clear that the only club he wants to join, despite reported Manchester City interest, is Liverpool. So that puts a bit of pressure on Palace again to agree a fee with Liverpool. And as with ISAK, there's been another key condition met today, which is that Palace have now got through their Conference League qualifier now, and they are qualified for the group stages. And Glasner had said ahead of the game, that, or made clear, it had been reported that Oliver Glasner was very keen to keep him around for this game to make sure that Crystal Palace achieved that objective of winning the Community Shield first, qualifying for Europe. They've now done that, and that openness from Palace to sanction a deal, I expect, is going to be there. Similarly with Newcastle. Now, Glasner actually spoke to Channel 5 today, and he said about this, he said, it's very important that Guéhi is playing. I'm speaking to Marc almost every day, and it was clear we were playing this game in Norway, and then let's see what will come. So clearly there, his tone suggests to me that everybody at Palace wanted to get this game out the way, get the second leg of this qualifier out the way, get Palace into Europe firmly, and then go to the table with Liverpool. And as I say, that pressure will still be there for Liverpool to utilise. Player only wants them. The deadline is coming up, and so Palace risk losing him for a lesser fee in January or for nothing at all the following summer. So it all seems to be lining up nicely for Liverpool, as I say. So a big finish to the window coming here potentially. Movement on ISAK expected in the next couple of days. Very similar with Marc Guéhi. I mean, I say couple of days. Liverpool do not have that long left. It may even move quicker than that. They might even be in talks right now as I'm filming this video. But I think very exciting, and obviously big developments really today in both of these sagas. They do finally look like they're coming to an end. Now, do let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments. How good of a window would this be if Liverpool finish it by adding Alexander Isak and Marc Guéhi? Do let me know your thoughts on all that. And as usual, I'm going to ask if you can like and subscribe. Let's get close to that 40,000 if possible. We need to get there, of course. All the press conferences, matches, transfer updates, all that to come throughout the season as well. So I'm going to wrap it up there and say I'll see you guys very soon.